inside of the workplace. If there's silence all the time and the leader is not communicating with their employees, that's a problem because that silence is sending a message. If the leader isn't communicating to the employees, there's no information being transferred from higher to lower. And what does that do? That causes the employees not to talk to their leaders. Because I tell you this, if I'm constantly seeking information from my leader and my leader blows me off or either doesn't talk to me, I don't want to talk to them. I'm not going to waste my time and talk to them. I'm not that desperate to talk to that individual. Now, when we have a mission going on and you're not communicating the finer details, that is your responsibility as a leader to communicate those finer details on what your left limit and your right limit are inside of the organization, inside the mission. What is going on? Especially when things are going bad. Because if you're not communicating or passing that information down on what is actually occurring, assumptions are going to come out. Remember, we talked about that belief and knowledge gap? Because leaders, when you go silent, the team doesn't stay in neutral. They just don't take the gear shifter and just park it in neutral and let the engine idle. They're ready to go. And they're going to fill in those gaps. Because sitting in silence causes anxiety, it causes stress. And individuals have to move. Because if they don't move, morale is going to drop. You're wasting their time. Especially in a workplace where an individual's got options. If you're not effectively communicating with your employees, and one of the key aspects of effective communication is listening, active listening, with your eyes and your ears, sitting back, and this is what we talk about, getting to know your employees and building that trust. Because when you look at them and say, hey, I don't have any intel to provide you on why we have stopped production, I need for you to stand fast. Got it. What else can we do? We can't do anything. I need for you to sit still. That's all I need for you to do is sit still. And anything and everything that, matter of fact, I'm going to do this. Every 5 minutes, I'm going to come back with an update. You feed them Scooby snacks. You got to feed the sharks. The sharks are always hungry. You got to feed them those little pieces of information. If not, that's a perfect opportunity for you to joke and laugh with them and get to know them and just keep the mood and the atmosphere and keep that affect very positive inside the organization. And they will understand, hey, we just don't have anything to do. Everything's broken. We don't know why. It may be a technical glitch and be like, IT's working on it. I'm not an IT guru and I don't know what IT does. And if somebody sits down the road and be like, I know, if you know, I need for you to go apply for that job and go help them out to go fix it. But I need for you to sit still right now. We'll find out if IT has an opening. Why do you think that? Well, I might have a computer degree. I remember one time when I was a drill sergeant a long time ago, and we used to line our privates up on both sides of the hall, and this was right at the beginning of Operation Iraqi Freedom. This was right when the towers went down, and so recruiting was coming in, and they were giving out big bonuses to recruits to come in, especially individuals who had college degrees. And so I'm talking about they would pay off all their college debt, didn't matter how much it was, and then they give them cats like a $45,000 signing bonus. And so I'd tell all my privates, hey, all my bonus babies, get on one side of the hallway. All you non-individuals that get no bonus or get nothing, y'all get on the other side. And I went down the road and I'm asking each private with respect, even though it's like day one or day two, I'm trying to get to know who my privates are because I'm going to spend 16 weeks, 20 hours a day with these cats. And so I got to one private and I asked him, I said, hey man, I said, why did you get a $45,000 bonus? He was like, well, and he was a specialist. He came in as E4 and he was older. And I was like, what's your degree in? And he said something about rocket aerospace engineer or whatever it was. I'm like, oh, so you're a rocket scientist. And he goes, actually, drill sergeant, I am a rocket scientist. See, I'm listening to this guy. And inside my head, I'm like, you are going to be one of my platoon guides, my bookman. You're a resource that I can use inside the platoon to make the organization better. I'm like, well, what did you do for a living? And he said he worked for the Air Force on their MX ballistic ICBM. And I was like, okay, I know you can't tell me anything else about that missile. And he was like, nope, I sure can't. I said, well, what are you going to do when you finish your time being a tanker? He said, I'm going to do my 4 years and I'm going to go back and I'm going to do my job. They're going to save my job. That's what I'm talking about, getting to know your individuals and knowing how to effectively communicate them. Get to know your employees. Because if you don't fix the communication problem, they're going to fill in the blanks and things are going to get messy really, really quick. So we sit back and we look at communication. One of the hardest things about leadership is being an effective communicator. One of the hardest things about being an effective communicator is employing actively listening skills. Shut your mouth, open your eyes, and listen. Listen to understand. And if you find your brain just spinning and wanting to answer them, shut it down. That's where you sit back and you look at yourself and you're like, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? What are my threats? I just say, shut up and listen. That's what I tell myself. My wife comes home and she's giving me all the tea of what's going on at work. A long time ago, I wanted to fix everything. Being a victim advocate and working victim advocacy for 14 years and understanding it's not always about me, I learned to just shut up and listen, shut my mouth and listen with my eyes. Because if you really listen to somebody, you might learn a lot. Because that rocket scientist guy, he kind of influenced me to become a scientist myself. And then I had other individuals who I were training in my courses. I had some guy who was a nuclear physicist. He came inside of my course. He worked somewhere in the DOD and he was like 30 years old and was a nuclear physicist. And I sat back and I'm like, what can I learn from this guy? That's what I'm talking about, getting to know your individuals. Because if you don't know your individuals, they're going to exhibit escape behaviors and they're always going to avoid you like the plague. So when you're inside of your organization, look at your communication gaps. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What opportunities and what threats are you creating inside of your organization because of your effective communication skills or because of your lack of effective communication skills? Tell me in the comments below. Follow along on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday's always about that know, that knowledge. Wednesday's always about that be, that identity. Who am I as a leader? And Friday's always about the execution. It's combining everything up and putting it out there on the streets and saying, this is who I am as leader and look at what I do. I look forward to seeing you.